is, I think, we have to look at the private. That is going to be, in a sense, a savior, because that is where the wealth generation is going to come. Wealth is not generated by bureaucrats and by politicians. It is generated by the people and by the entrepreneurs. So they must take over. And I think what we are seeing in Pakistan is this tussle between the old and the new. Unfortunately, the old wins more times. But the new keeps coming up, and it has to. And it has to challenge the embedded institutions and culture and values of backwardness that we seem to be very think that we shouldn't do anything. Look, if there's anything good about Japanese or Korean culture, it survived. The rest has been thrown out because it was not functional with the modernizing process. But we have to take that in, and therefore every generation, every 30 to 40 years, we have to look at ourselves and see what is not optimal, what is dysfunctional, what is malfunctioning, what is rent-seeking, what is not adding value, but sitting like an incubus. And unfortunately, there's too many of those things in our economy and our society. So it is you people, because you are the vanguard and the educated people who have to now take the initiative. You have to see that the political constituencies are redistributed fairly so that the cities now have a proper constituency in the parliaments, national and provincial. Once that happens, modernization will happen. The rear guard, the feudal, the rural, backward looking, etc., wants to keep society in the 18th century. And much of our state structure is linking up with that, because they're getting their rents and their corruption money coming through the old system, and they know how to work that. So we have to look at the rest of the world, see how they have managed to keep on transforming themselves and position themselves for the next century. And I'll just end, if I have 1 minute, that I came across this thing that the French ambassador in the UK from 1900 to 1920, he was there for 20 years in that fateful period. He was leaving, so I think Winston Churchill's mother, she had a farewell dinner for him. And the Brits there asked him that, what have you noticed about us? What can you tell us about 20 years of your intimacy with the UK? And his words were that what I have seen here in the last 20 years is no less thorough in purging the elements of society that you did not need, no less thorough than the French Revolution. So it wasn't done by a revolution, but it was done by these people realizing that if we keep all this old and atavistic and maladjusted, then we are not going to be positioned for the 20th century. So that's what he was saying, that in these 20 years, despite this massive carnage of World War I, you have been able to reposition yourself for the 20th century. That's what I've seen as the ambassador. And that's what we'd like to see here happening. And I think, unfortunately, the educated elite, which should be in the vanguard, has been put into a situation of demoralization. Because there are too many rogues, there are too many apes. It's not a failed state like our friends in India want to keep talking about Pakistan. But it could be a failed elite. And it could even be a rogue elite by now. And that's what we want to avoid. And we have to develop, grasp the capability to purge these elements through internal reform. And that would be my message, I think, for you.
I like that. Okay, I'm going to take just 2 or 3 questions from the audience. Asad Shah here, the gentleman over there, and the lady in front. Those are the first 3. Ji.
First of all, thank you, Tammy, for moderating a very, very good session. And we have got some beautiful insights into the subject, a lot of good thoughts. And I have a few comments. First of all, you said that Pakistan is already in civil war. Unfortunately, the situation may be even worse. We are in an uncivil war. That is the problem. And the other problem is that there is too much negativism in our society. I mean, sitting here, we got such fantastic ideas, good case studies, people working on poverty alleviation. All of the different ideas that we heard, were positive. And I think Pakistan has a lot of resources. And if we can pull up all the positive things and highlight that, I think time has come to also highlight more and more the positive aspects of our society and, reduce the negativity somehow, number one. Second, you said that while there are so many ideas, we don't have a vision. Very right. I think we need to have a vision. Now, where that vision is going to come from, and how, and what is the solution? Ultimately, what is the solution? You raised that question. The solution is written behind social responsibility. Problem is that every problem and for every solution we look at the government. Government has a very small role in this society. More than 95% of goods and services in the entire world, and also in Pakistan, are produced in private sector. Wealth is created in the private sector. We always criticize government. Yes, government is corrupt. Government is inefficient. But what are we doing? Are we doing our responsibility? If we, each one of us, starts contributing the way, and realize our social responsibility, I think the sky is the limit. This country can be transformed. Thank you.
Sorry, that's sort of what I was trying to get at, is the role that everybody in this room has to play. And I think that one should be positive, absolutely.
Can I add
things
in there?
Then the gentleman there.
Yeah. I think one particular point in terms of the vision which you were just talking about is important, and I would like to reiterate that we do have growth, but the problem with our growth has been that it's not been inclusive, and that's causing the issue. And that's why actually in a presentation yesterday I gave figures, and those are relevant. I'd like to talk about that. The problem is that if we work on inequality or GDP growth, there are two options are there. If we increase GDP growth by 1%, the impact of that on the poverty is just 3.6% or anything around that. Whereas if we work on removing the inequality or reducing the inequality by 1%, the impact on poverty elevation will be 8.5%. And that's the empirical study which has proved. So what we have to, as a vision, look at that how we as a nation move forward to remove the inequality. And for that, the first particular point which we have to make is that make as much investment as you can on education and health. These are the two things if we can do and invest on it over a period of time, the inequality will go, in my opinion, in any case.
Thank you. I'll bring back discussion to the point which we were discussing before. My question is to Mr. Nadeem Hussain, next gentleman sitting with him, Mr. Ghazanfar. How would you differentiate between microcredit and microfinance? Number one. Number two, if we try to sell all the financial products to the poor of the poorest, how he is going to bear the cost of that? And our panelists refer to informal and unregulated financial sector, referring to high financial cost of interest-bearing loans. But we forgot there is another institution working in our society which is committee system. Committees, and committees, even of today, you can have 100 rupees per month contribution up to maybe 1 million rupees per month contribution. You can find housewives running committees, and you can find high business persons running committees, ranging from 10,000 rupees to 200 million rupees, 20 million rupees, and ranging 10 months to 3 years tenure. So this is all microcredit, I understand. And if you see as the whole system as an institution, it's a big institution in work already, which is, they help each other, If a person has to buy a buffalo, he puts the committee in, and when he gets the money, he buys the buffalo. So it's a microcredit already available to our society, which you have not accounted for in your discussions. Would you please comment?
I think that was the informal sector. By the way, they have dollar and dirham committees also.
And yes, but that that's the microcredit available. Thank you.
I think I'll take the opportunity to address one basic point. I'll not take long and give the opportunity to my colleague also. As far as the credit in the market is concerned, there was never a deficiency